Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. I'm a Cloudy Sheep and we are playing Fate of the World. It's 2080, so it's now 60 years since we started playing the game, 2 generations and exactly 30 years of one generation till we last took really stock of what's going on and where we stand. So let's do a brief little tour of where we stand in terms of emissions and all of that. Of course, we are now in terms of temperature much exceeding the original United Nations target of 2 degrees, but our loss condition is actually 3 degrees Celsius, so it looks like we might be below that, but of course the issue is still that we might have accelerated growth. So emissions, by the logic of this game, do come from emissions. So how do you look in terms of emissions? Let's go to start telemetry and have a look. So we are now at 53,000 megatons of CO2 emissions per year. How does that square up? Now, for the first time, I'm happy to report that this is lower than when we started the game. Back then, if you remember well, it was at 54,000 megatons, and it's even a little bit lower than we had in the meantime. So when we last took stock, it was a little bit higher, so that was about over here in 1950s, and then we had 57,000 megatons. So now it's decreased a little bit, and that is a very, very positive development, so I'm very happy about that. But of course, we have to see that it's still in the same ballpark. So if we would really want to do something about the climate change over here, we would need to have a reduction in the global annual emissions, because of course the total emissions, the cumulative emissions over a couple of years, still go up. If we're adding more and more CO2 emissions every year, then yeah, it's still going to increase. So that is a little bit of an issue. Still, let's see how that went regionally. If you remember well, last time one of the top emitters was China at 12,000 tons. So now that has changed a little bit. I think we can have a look over. I think it should be on this thing, right? So last time we looked, China was really one of the biggest polluters. It was relatively stable at about 13,000. You can see that over the last 30 years though, so especially from 2060 onwards, this really dropped down. You can see this dropping down dramatically over time, and China is now at 4,000 megatons only, so that is a dramatic reduction over just 20 short years. We managed to reduce the Chinese emission by about 2/3, so that is an incredibly good development. That's just 8,000 tons of annual emissions that we did cut off from this stack. So that is a very good development. Now, however, we know that not everything is fine. You can see that we are still on the same level, so that what did cause that? You can immediately see that, I think, over here. So in the green graph over here, come on, just give me the tooltip. Every single time, game. Nope, sorry, that was the wrong graph. Over there. Right. India. India did start out the game at a fairly modest 4 to 5,000 megatons. And that increased. Even in 30 years ago, so by the midst of the century, we did see that India was about at 8,000 megatons. It now stands at 14. So India is now a bigger emitter than China ever had been, even in the worst of times. So that, of course, is one of the massive downsides. And just since last time, India has increased their position to being the #1 polluter now. Likewise, South Africa, which I think should be this one, yeah. South Africa, from being somewhat negligible at the beginning of the game, it had even increased to a somewhat mid-term position by 2050. So you can see back then it was 5,000 tons, and now it's nearly at 9,000 tons. So also a very large increase. And lastly, the Middle East, which I think is down here. Actually also increased by quite a bit. So last time we looked at that, it was at 8,000. We're now at... Oh no, it did not increase that much actually. Sorry, my bad. I thought it had. No, in fact it's relatively stable. So yeah, there's that. Other nations are interesting to look at as well, in particular Europe. so this yellow one, and North America over here is now totally negligible. It's only 1000 megatons from North America, about 2000 megatons from Europe. So a very, very good change, specifically from the beginning of the game when these were the number 2 and 3 polluters. And even from the sort of 4000 tons over here by the midst of the century. So very good developments in some points, very, very challenging situation in India. Now what I also found a little bit interesting is that if we look at the energy production the emissions in these countries, you can see that of course energy and industry are very, very big items that are contributing to the emissions in India. The interesting bit about that is that this is really a concentrated issue. It's now the energy in India that alone is contributing nearly more than 6.5 thousand megatons of CO2 emissions per year. So that is much, much more than most of the other nations. That's only the top 3 polluters do emit more than that in total, including India. So even the entirety of Southeast Asia is emitting less than India alone is using for its energy consumption. So that individual item of 6.5 thousand megatons is the biggest individual item I've seen throughout the game. Just last time in the 1950s, the biggest item was actually the industrial pollution in China at 4.5 thousand tons. So this is really a big issue. And there are only 4 big issues now, or 4 issues that contribute very, very much. This is the energy in India, this is the industrial pollution in India, it is in Southern Africa, the energy consumption, as you can see over here, at 5.7 or 5.8 thousand tons, and in the Middle East also the energy usage. So these are really the biggest items that contribute to the world being polluted by CO2 emissions. So these are the things that we should address for the rest of the game, and maybe have a look by the turn of the century, just a very short one for the last 40 years, or now 40 years, then 20 years. There are of course a couple of other items that are somewhat larger than before, so just emitting a little bit more than 1000 megatons per year. For example, you can see in China over here is for the first time agriculture. So for the first time agriculture is really a very big polluter that is in our top lists, even though I mean it was relevant over here, but you can see that it did drop. It didn't drop down quite as much as the other ones did. And again, you know, in this graph you can see immediately the great effect that happened from here onwards, and I think we can probably see that down here. Coal-free industry. So from here onwards we applied coal-free industry, and you can see that the industrial use of CO2 in China did go down and down and down. The energy consumption did not go down in the same extent initially, but since then we have converted so much to nuclear that I think it is looking much better. So that's the overall picture in terms of CO2 emissions. I think a couple of other things are also interesting. The global GDP is going straight up. It's interesting to see that the Middle East is contributing much, much more to the economy than it did in the beginning of the game, whereas Europe and North America are somewhat stable. All of the rest of the world has increased by quite a bit. Only China is seeing some contraction, and I'm very worried about that. So we'll need to deal with that a little bit. Right, so let's get into the game. Let's apply these lessons. So India is the very first nation that we are going to look at from now on every time. We are seeing that advanced turbines are being researched. That is extremely good, because we should see somewhere in this long list of news items, yeah, over here, that leads to a high efficiency in coal, gas, oil, uranium efficiency. So that is very, very nice to see. We did acquire that by buying that from other nations. Carbon cash is being put to good use. Industrial emissions go down, healthcare spending goes up, sickness and literacy go down and up respectively. So that is very good to see. Agriculture is losing a little bit of capital index, and we are experiencing water stress, not good. More pollution, so more sickness. Sunshine, that's not good, but some good drive in the energy usage. So these two cards over here are what makes me very hopeful. We have, by the use of these two cards, managed to turn other regions' energy consumption down so much that I think it's very useful to keep on these guys running. Unemployment, commerce and max capital indexes are growing, and that's something that we do need to talk about very soon. Reforestation is continuing, so that also is very nice. Again, the energy reduction is working. Agricultural emissions are down, GDP is up, so that is very, very good. Although sickness, plus 60%, is really an issue. So we do, I think, need to deal with the sickness. The unemployment is really low. It actually means probably that there are too little workers, and that the GDP could go up a little bit. Now in terms of GDP, I'm a little bit worried, but because I think the industry over here is growing a little bit too quick to my liking. So it will be very hard to, you know, if this continues to grow that quickly, so will the emissions, so we'll probably have to deal a little bit with that, and I think we'll have to look under social points over here and withdraw a little bit of the private investment support that we did provide over here. That will reduce the GDP overall by 9%. Is that something that we can afford? Or will these cuts then become invalid? I think it's fine. As long as the GDP per capita is above 12%, that should be fine. So we'll withdraw the private investment. The protection of land and soil is fine. The cap and trade participation is alright. We might want to think about medical supplies, but there doesn't seem to be any. One-child policy, always a good idea, but always very unpopular, so we'll have to think a bit about that. But it's stable. These guys are balanced, so I think all in all that's fine. And in particular with these two cards running, I'm very, very happy about the situation up here. Let's switch to Southern Africa, one of the second biggest polluter now, where we only have 3 cards, so we'll have to probably expand our thinking about that. And you know what, we have researched advanced turbines over here, so let's briefly get back to India and see what other technology we might want to acquire over here to maybe boost things a little bit. So I think you're lagging very far behind on energy usage, and I think the water level over here is still somewhat under stress, right? So things that we might want to look at is getting to high yield crops, which would reduce the water usage somewhat. I don't think we need the depressurization, but quantum computing for more money wouldn't be too bad, and specifically energy wouldn't be too bad either. So yeah, for now I'm not sure whether we have the money to do that. So let's try to come back over here later. For now I'm very happy to run these 3 things, and that should hopefully be alright. So over here we did acquire the turbines, so that too will increase the efficiency over here, so that's good to see. In the pollution though, is not that nice to see. Quantum computing contributing to the economy over here, so that's excellent. You're also seeing private investment, much higher likelihood of storms, and more GDP. So how does your GDP look like? So yeah, 15,000, so that's very nice, because that too means we can employ these industrial carbon regulations on the private and industrial level, and that is going to be extremely good. I think we also definitely need to recruit another agent over here to provide you with further support to continue to do things. I think we are also going to withdraw private investment support over here as well, just so that the economy isn't growing out of hand, even though this is a very expensive card to play. But I think it's an important one to do. Right, these are the top polluters. Let's switch to the Middle East, which is unstable, not that nice, but yeah, and more droughts. But the expanded oil production is so important for us. Agricultural emissions are down, industrial emissions are down, so that's nice to see. Are you alright on the private things? I don't think you are. Well, no, I think you are actually, so that's alright. We don't need to expand that further. I think all in all, your HDMI is okay, your GDP per capita is alright, your oil production is good, but we would probably need to help you out a little bit. So medical welfare program is available because there are a couple of sick people. Could do that. Coal-free industry, discourage meat production. All of these are of course very helpful. Is the water stress level at 30%? It's not that great either, so we might want to subsidize biochar. Could acquire quantum computing. Could acquire super tensile materials. But I think probably advanced turbines are our immediate goal, so let's acquire the geo engineering items, and that should be good. And other than that, job sharing initiative maybe. I think that's fine. If we're losing a little bit of money from here, that's fine, as long as these people are a little bit less angry and a little bit more stable maybe. Right, so these are the three most important polluters. Let's get over to Southeast Asia, the fourth one. So nice little turn over here. Anything that I need to be particularly worried about? Yes, drought. Wildfires, that's not good. Reforestation though is going on nicely, so that's good to see. Carbon capture is being put to good use. You are running the most important bits. You're running child policy, cap and trade. All of these are fine. Droughts. I mean, droughts would be helpful to block, but all in all, I'm pretty happy about this setup, so I don't think we need to change it now. Good, let's get to Northern Africa, which is sort of in this league of nations that are contributing some emissions now, that are growing very strongly, I think. Yeah, at a very good GDP per capita now. We're subsidizing biochar. Is that really the most important thing? Deforestation is halted, that's good to see. Yeah, also very good. I think what we are having some private investment over here, so that's nice to see. Could do wildlife conservation, that would be good. I mean, you are communal, so you would be happy about these sort of things. Let's drop out of subsidizing biochar for now. The water stress level is alright, so I think we can maybe drop out of that for now and instead go for industrial carbon recs. Is that really important? Let's do wildlife conservation. I think it would be nice if the species in Northern Africa would not starve. Right, let's go to the first world, North America. One of the countries that is pioneering climate action, apparently. Right, aerosol geoengineering has to be done. Afforestation, good to see. You have researched this, so that's an issue maybe. You have met the emission targets, so you're also dropping out of the cap and trade emissions goal, which might be an issue because I think that withdraws funding from the other countries. So we'll have to see about that. But it's an extremely nice thing that this happened. So it's also good to see that the uranium reactors are their optimum agricultural research achieved. You're really happy. So I'm happy to see that. On the other hand, Clathrate mining starts. That's difficult because there's a 2.5% Clathrate eruption chance per turn, so we're getting more gas from over here, but it does have its downside, so we'll have to think a little bit about this. You do like us a lot by now, so could do fourth generation nuclear things. On the other hand, we do have no technology that we need right now, so coal-free industry, are you actually emitting anything? You're hardly emitting anything really. Where does that come from even? Resource production, we can't change anything about that. Industry, energy is nearly free of any emissions. It's mostly oil use. Can we do something about the oil use? I don't think so. Synthetics oil? No. Coal-free industry doesn't really do much for us, so I guess we could play Tobin tax or fourth generation nuclear conversion so that the uranium production gets up a little bit. So I think that's a good change over here. Yeah, happy about the US. Let's have a look at Europe. You're heading in the right direction, so that's nice to see. Europe and an increased chance for drought. Agricultural, some efficiency upgrades, so that's good to see. Reforestation is also increasing, very lovely actually. Not much that I feel we need to change. You're committing to renewables. How successful are you doing that? If we have a look at the electricity consumption over here, 85% renewables. That's actually pretty good. Yeah. So what is that? Solar, hydro, wind. Yeah, we did need the good technology for that, but I'm very happy about this graph. So renewables now contributing a lot to the electricity production over here. So that is extremely good. It also means we are using much less coal, gas and oil and even uranium, so that again is very nice. Probably we can drop out of this technology very soon and maybe switch over to cars, electric cars. You do somewhat like us, but not enough that I feel confident in placing Tobin tax over here. You do like us. But again, not quite as much. Afforestation is going on well, global temperature, tech is booming, old nuclears are being replaced. Is there anything down here that's popular? Okay, so all the things: water usage, medical welfare, transport investment. I think we can do the business and household carbon recs. I don't think we can do the cap and trade over here, right? It wouldn't be popular, but I don't think we can do it. No, I think we finished that, so that's alright. Japan then. More drought at a very dangerous level actually. Less sunshine. Efficiency, Tobin tax. Yeah, but you're fine. Much more storms. I think this is fine. I think Tobin tax, keeping that on over here is alright as well. Let's have a look at China. You're reducing your household usage of energy. That's good to see. Your tech is on the rise. Drought is an issue. Oh, we did produce. Okay, so that's nice to see. No passive deforestation, plus 25 support per turn. That's also very good to see, especially in like these communal areas. I think that's very nice. Your unemployment is really high though. Something is considerably wrong with your economy. I hope that quantum computing helps us out here, but yeah, your unemployment really is so bad, and your total GDP is just collapsing due to your industry collapsing over here. I think that was an event where the industry did not get all of the resources that it wanted, and since then it has really not recovered that well. So does it make sense to continue to commit you to nuclear power? How does your electricity mix look like? It's a bit uranium and renewables. What can we get you in terms of technology? I think you have most of the important bits. Super smart grids, not so much, but high yield crops would be nice. But you're getting second generation biofuels anyway. So I think we can drop out of commit to nuclear and actually commit to renewables. Oh, we're doing that already, so that is fine. Not much else we can do over here to provide the industry with a little bit of a boost. Could improve the defenses. Don't want to switch to conventional farming. I think the water stress is too high over here. 17%. No, all of this seems to be fine. Let's do a job sharing initiative so that these unemployed people get a little bit more happy. Don't think we need eco investments. Let's improve the draw defenses a little bit. Of course they'll like us for it, and it's just going to be a little bit cheaper. Don't want to commit to nuclear. We have 2 cards left, which really feels weird. Do we want to expand biofuels or something? I don't think so. It's also very expensive. Could do a one-child policy. How's your medical situation? 12%. I mean, it's not dramatically too good. It might be alright. Could grow agriculture, eco-awareness, tight borders, not necessarily required. Let's subsidize biochar. I think it's going to be alright for China to use this. I'm also worried about the employment over here in the industry. It really feels a little bit funny. I'm also going to use cap and trade to see what will happen in China when we do this. And maybe that's going to help us out with all of these countries relying on incoming funding from that. So who's still participating? I think it's just Europe and Japan. Yes. So Southeast Asia might have to drop out of that. Anyway, let's have a look at Russia. Tech booming, forest wildlife met, so that's lovely to see. Eco campaign in full swing. Did acquire that, but it's not important. So we're pretty free to do things over here nicely. Could Tobin tax, but that's not a wise idea, I feel. Advanced turbines, 10 years. I mean, it's three turns, so I think it might make sense to acquire that nonetheless, and that should be alright. One-child policy, nope, nope. All of this is fine. We don't need that. We could expand the gas production over here, but I don't think it's necessary. Coal-free industry is always one of my favorites, but then again our oil usage is so high anyway that it is problematic, I feel. Quantum computing, will you acquire that in 43 years? You know what, let's acquire that and have you be a little bit more wealthy, and I feel that's gonna be a little bit better. You're unstable, stable, stable, unstable. You don't really like us. Advanced drilling has been researched over here. Afforestation is continuing. Meat-free culture. Why is that, by the way? Concerned or displeased? Yeah. All of this is very good though. Poor harvest. Oh yeah, of course, no, that's fine. Deep gas production. I think that's fine. Do we want to acquire any of these technologies? Smart grids you'll get. Super tensile materials would be nice. Advanced turbines. You're not contributing to emissions that much. So I think we'll keep it like that and get over here to India. Acquire a new slot. And think about what did we want to do here? I barely remember. I think subsidized biochar is always good. And you're not in any immediate water stress. Pollutants. Yeah. I think biochar is good because of the water usage. Water is still under stress here, so that's fine. And since we do still have money, we're going to spend that on Southern Africa. Because again, these nations really do need our support. And I think what we want to do here is increase your eco-awareness, because that leaves us with yet more money. We should probably also try to invest that a little bit better. Higher education, always good, but land and forest deforestation, stopping deforestation, that's what I mean to say, is also very, very helpful. one-child policy. Could do that down here as well. But I think we'll have to withdraw the private investment first. Northern Africa is looking fine, I think. You're communal as well, you're balanced. All of this are good technologies to pursue. China, anything you want to do that's more expensive than this? I don't think so. I think that's alright. We could grow the industry in China. Try to aim a little bit higher there. North America, the expanded oil production is still required, I think. I still want to run the 4th generation nuclear conversion because that allows us to actually produce more uranium as well, and that is also very helpful. Lowest supply, slowest production, I know. And we do need the sulfates as well, so there's no chance that we can not use those. We are not acquiring any technology over here in India, I realize. But we don't have the concentrated photovoltaic cells. I think we have to go through the energy tree as well. Anything that we don't need, let's not subsidize biochar, and let's acquire this, and I think that's going to be alright. Right. So, that being said, I think this is a very nice place to put in a cut. And I thank you very much for watching. So, see you tomorrow. Bye bye.